is which decks he brings like every day.
He's unpredictable.
He's unpredictable. He's brought Turtle Mage, he's brought Tempo Mage, he's dabbed into Soul Demon Hunter, he's dabbed into Bomb Warrior and Pain Warrior. The only thing he hasn't done is the anti-Bomb Warrior strategy. But I wouldn't even put it past him at this point to bring that. But, you know, he's out of time. If he had more time, maybe, you know, going to the World Championship if Bomb Warrior is still a thing, which who knows if it will be. You know, maybe that's what he does because he's just that kind of guy now. He's the unpredictable guy. He's the loose cannon of Hearthstone Grandmasters. You never know what ETC is going to do. But two cool stories going into this one. You know, Muzzy, again, one of the all-time greats.
A demon hunter.
And oh yeah, I wasn't there. I didn't cast this one, but Abar just reminded me that ETC at the last Masters Tour was one of the first players to actually bring the anti-Bomb Warrior strategy. So, excuse me, even though he didn't bring it to Grandmasters, he is the ultimate unpredictable player. Now let's get into the series. First semifinal of the day.
Yep, very much so. So, Muzzy starting things off with this Pharaoh Cat. Finds a, not a Colossus the Moon. We'll take those.
Yeah, we take those. Colossus the Moon, Generous Mummy seem to be quite popular. Actually seen a good amount of those rap golems over the course of the last two series. I think we've seen 3 now in just that Sand versus Rami match and this one. ETC, this can be a tough choice because he's got 4 2-drops. Mana Feeder Panthera, you know, sometimes you don't consider that a 2-drop. You know, maybe he thinks there's merit to coining out Wandmaker, Doubt Soulshear, but decides to just go ahead and pass. I don't think this is a matchup where you have to get off to a particularly fast start. I think you can kind of bide his time, go Wandmaker on 2, Hero Power, Mana Feeder, Panthera on 3, and then evaluate from there how fast or slow he wants to take the mid game, depending on what Muzzy does. You know, whether or not he does play a questing adventure or just kind of takes it for a value game, which seems to be what he's going to do.
Right. Well, from here, ETC doesn't have too much that he can do besides his Wandmaker. This Mana Feeder Panthera is pretty bad, and I think Muzzy's happy to see that, so he has that activator ready to go. Evil Miscreant, he can continue to build his tempo lead this way. Seems very solid. And ETC has no Soul Fragment shuffled in yet. We could totally do that right now through Soulshear or his weapon.
I wonder what kind of setup he wants to make here, though. Because he could go for like Soulshear on the Cold Neophyte, because that takes the most power off the board, protects his life total, and then like Hero Power into the Evil Miscreant. But that seems like a pretty big tell, and he can always Hero Power next turn after Charge Out of Mystic is played. The other option is like to coin out Marrow Slicer and kill the Evil Miscreant, because that's not as big of a tell. You're killing like the most expensive minion on board, the minion with the highest health. It doesn't really say much. I think just keeping it simple and going Soulshear on Cold Neophyte and then Hero Powering Face makes the most sense, but that Marrow Slicer lets you deal with a bigger potential minion next turn.
Right.
And I think maybe that's what ETC is worried about.
Yeah, and it makes sense because in the end, Marrow Slicer just ends up setting up a lot of things, right? It gives you the ability to do all these crazy swings. It gives you the ability to push the tempo, and you can also just hold it and threaten your opponent, right? There's a lot of like implied power on the board, so it just the disruption that's being shown to Muzzy is definitely something that is annoying for him to have to deal with. We see Muzzy has a lot of ways to just start to generate cards here, so can start off with any of the proactive lackeys or even the secret if he wants to start off that way. We have also seen just even the previous game Plagiarize can be pretty awkward in this matchup, so it's not a huge priority to set it up early. Compared to later in the game, if they're like threatening to play Gladebound Adepts, you can usually play Plagiarize to set that up.
Yeah, usually Plagiarize, even though it's a fringe case scenario, is in this matchup is best used when you have a lead and your opponent needs to make some type of big swing turn in order to come back in the game. Usually they need to use spells that increase the damage of their hero, and you can put them in this checkbait situation where, oh no, I need to play all these spells to heal, but all these spells also give that amount of damage to my opponent. That's like the best use for Plagiarize. It relies on being ahead, but that's not the tallest task for Rogue because they have some great tempo tools. It just can all go away in an instant in the case of Blade Dance or Shard Mystic like it just did. So a pretty decent early game setup from ETC. Allows him to hold on to a Mara Slicer charge, allows him to have the board.
I was going to start off the next turn with this Ethereal Lackey. Ooh, some real fun ones. Second Plagiarize, probably not, but Potion of Illusion and Vendetta already have my attention. Vendetta is playable right now, the moment you play this Wand Thief. I think I don't think you're going to have trouble having cards to play. I think you want to make sure that you don't take damage. Being protective of your life total, like we said, is pretty important for Rogue last time.
Yeah, because they don't have ways to defend themselves outside of crazy scenarios from Shadow Jeweler Hanar or other random stuff like we've seen in the past. Power Up Creation, pick from Wand Thief into Card 2 Defender, that kind of stuff.
Right. Passes it back over to ETC, who picks up the Soul Shard Lapidary. This is not a board that you feel like you ever want to Blade Dance. Just feels so bad to do so. Maybe just push damage. Lapidary is not a bad card to give to the Rogue when they have no activators for the Soul Fragments. It's 5/5. It's turn 5 as well, so you want to be mana efficient. And in the end, it's like presenting also a scary proposition for the Rogue, which is like, oh, he just wants to start killing me, so I have to start like keeping my health total in check. And so I really like it for that reason as well.
The biggest trap you can fall for as Demon Hunter is actually trying to kill the annoying stuff that Rogue plays early. Because that's not going to do anything, and you're going to win a race. You will win a race. If they're hitting you with 5 1/1s every turn in the face, and you're playing Soul Shard Lapidaries and Gladebound Adepts, you're going to win that battle. So as long as you don't see anything like out of the ordinary happen, like a bunch of randomly generated spells, and you can get punished by Freeze or AoE, a bunch of randomly generated secrets from Shadow Jewel Hanar, I feel like after you get past that early game, after you have that one big swing onto the board, like ETC did with the Shard Shatter Mystic, stuff just goes face. You just hit them and force them to be the ones under pressure and reacting to what you're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Muzzy gonna trade, push a little bit of damage, hope that ETC reacts to this. Not with a Soul Shard Mystic. And ETC can continue to invite the race. He has 2 Slices and Chaos Strike and Gladebound Adept, which totals to 10 damage from hand. If he weaves in hero powers over 2 turns, that's 12. That's okay, but not really enough. He does have ways to like impact the board though. He can go ahead and play Mana Fear and Panthara to draw a card. You can utilize Soul Shear. You can even... Oh? Well, Penfinger helps too. Penfinger helps to maybe make up some of that damage. but it's definitely not doable in the next 2 turns. It'd be a 3-turn lethal attempt, so you would like Pen
I
Flinger,
grow
a
impatient.
1/1, then Soul Shear, but
Time grows short.
looks like ETC just wants to get this Chaos Strike.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, he's doing
I
it.
mean that pet finger's
He's-
pointed at face.
So he's going for
Maybe he
what,
thinks, like-
3-turn lethal?
Maybe he thinks like 3-turn lethal is cut down a little bit more by drawing cards. And at some point he can Blade Dance to remove a lot of power on board, which means he's getting him further ahead in the race, or finds Aldraki Warblade, something along those lines. But that's a bold call, because he also gives that damage over to Saiyan. Or not to Saiyan, to Muzzy.
Right.
Give me a quest.
We'll see, but ETC's just like, whatever. It's a puzzle that I can't figure out. When in doubt,
Go face. And it's not necessarily a bad move at all, given that the current circumstances of things. Muzzy definitely is gonna win the board. ETC is holding Philosophy. He's got Blade Dance on like a bunch of 1/1s. These are all cards that are hard to use. But Muzzy is gonna also set up his own 2-turn lethal here with this Quest Adventure. Force 1 Omu really fun too. The side note.
Yep.
So now ETC really needs to find a way to address this board. Before, it was kind of hoping that he could. Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
Soul Shear plus Charge Center Mystic. He even gets to throw a Pen Flinger in there. Oh, man.
Nuts.
Just nuts.
It is just the nuts, TJ.
Yep, and Muzzy knows, right? He knows. Yep, there it is.
Yeah. The good news.
And this is 9 damage next turn, right?
Yes. The good news is he's not dead, right? That's kind of what we're talking about. And he also has a way to continue to power load his tempo with the Force War Nomu. He's got 16 mana this turn. Are you going to tell me that he doesn't have an opportunity to make a big tempo play?
He's got 16 mana, but 5 of it is the Omu.
Okay, so he's got 11 mana this turn.
Yeah.
And the Omu's not... The Omu is a 5/4.
It's not tempo, though. It's just stats.
What? That is
It doesn't
definitely what
swing.
tempo is, TJ. That is definitely what tempo is. A lot of times, tempo is trying to create your best board state. You're telling me that's not tempo?
I mean, I think of it as like taking something from your opponent while also building something yourself.
Right, so you like the swings, the tempo swings.
Yeah. Because Omu's not swinging tempo necessarily, it's just being able to put down more stats.
Right. Well,
The
ETC
body
has
itself.
Pen Flinger, and that Lapidary draw is actually pretty nutty, because now he can Pen Flinger, Lapidary, Blade Dance. Chances are he's going to be able to wipe off a lot of the power on the board. He could even sequence it so he can attack first. Oh, wait, the second slice lets him Pen Flinger as well, so you want to fling... Wait, don't you want to fling before you second slice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you pen fling, then you second slice, then you hero power, then blade dance and pen flinger at the end to hit the reborn.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nice.
Very well done.
Pen flinger clears are cool.
Muzzy unhappy to say the least. He does have Janice Barov.
Yep. Needs to find something big from Jandis as well, because He's pretty confident that he's going to die. Maybe not super confident that he's going to die, but this is a scary situation to be in. I'm trying to think of anything that in his deck that could help him right now as well, but there's just such a wide range of things. Maybe Secret Passage.
Don't let the door hit you.
Yeah, I think it's just maximum board presence here and hope that you don't die. And we know that ETC has it. Game number 1 from ETC. Able to get the win with the Demon Hunter over that Rogue, and he has extra damage just for the insurance. And what looked like to be a good situation was once again swung by a very fortunate top deck there from ETC, as he's able to get one step closer becoming the season champion. The magic number is 6 today for these players. They get 6 wins. A little thumbs up, maybe to his cat, I'm not sure. Yeah, ETC's magic number is now down to 5.
Yeah, and it's still like clean play. The Penflinger turned to face where he went aggressive. I think if he tries to pick apart the board there, he doesn't get anywhere, right? So at the end of the day, maybe that's not like the cleanest turn he can make because he's giving some resources over to Muzzy, but he cycled, right? He got deeper, he pushed damage, he set himself up to be bailed out by AoE, and he was bailed out by AoE. So even though that's a good draw off the top, that was still a situation where, he played with his cards, right? He can't fault him for being clean with that. And that's a tough one for Muzzy because that's a tough matchup. If you take Rogue versus Demon Hunter, you take those every time. And when you feel that close, those are tough ones because now the Rogue has to win another one. And honestly, it feels like Muzzy's been like on this super like hype momentum train, right? It feels like he wins the first like 2 games of every series. And he's like 3-0 and 3-1 so many of the series that he's played over like the last 3 weeks that it's weird seeing him down in the beginning of a series. I don't know. It's an odd feeling. It's a very odd feeling.
Yeah. Well, that's just the beginning of this series as we're going to take a little bit of a break. And after a few minutes, we're going to come back and see if ETC can do the unthinkable and be able to upset everybody and become the season champion from Division B. We're all crossing our fingers, but we also are happy to see Muzzy take it. And the answer is after this.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile.
ちょっと常に10分遅れるか常に20分早くってさ、何その
待ち合わせに10分早く
常に10分遅れるか20分早くなるかで選ぶとしたら20分早く着くことは選びます。
항상 10분 늦는 게 더 좋은 것 같아요. 다른 사람도 꼭 늦는 사람이 있어서 항상 저는 10분 늦겠습니다.
常に10分遅れるか常に20分早いかだと常に20分早い方です。ただ仲が良くなると10分遅れ始めます。
我的话通常都是可能早个5到10分钟到。如果是早20分钟的话，那我还是宁愿晚10分钟到。
待ち合わせに10分遅れるか20分早いかでいうと最近は早く着くようになりました。
이게 똑같이 10분 10분이면은 10분 일찍 가는 거 하겠는데 20분 손해보는 건 조금 너무 손해라서.
Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Grandmasters. It's the final day of the season. It's playoffs day, and we get to see who is going to advance to the grand finals between ETC and Muzzy. If you're just tuning in, ETC was able to take that first game with the Demon Hunter and be able to overpower that rogue and wrestle back that board after Muzzy was ahead for a majority of the game. Really well done by ETC and some really nice clears. Going in number 2, Muzzy has Tempo Mage on deck here, as Tempo Mage has been one of the big center point of discussion for a lot of lineups at the moment. This is no exception. Muzzy's been pretty strong on Mage overall in the season, and we'll see if he's able to follow it up with game number 2.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a surprise or a coincidence that the 2 best Tempo Mage players in Americas, which are Muzzy and Keelan all day, hands down, are in the top 4, right? It's a pivotal deck that rarely gets banned, that's in most lineups, and I do feel like Americas players have been very shaky with the deck. I had this conversation with Muzzy. I talked a little bit about it in his interview, but also just kind of in, over text where he heard me criticizing, I can't remember exactly which player it was, but criticizing a Tempo Mage game where I disagreed with almost every line that the player took. And Muzzy said that he agrees, and he thinks that a lot of players are pretty bad at Mage, and saying how most of the time, this is tooting my own horn a little bit, but most of the time he agrees with my analysis. And that worries me, Dan, because I've never been in this situation. And I don't want to be in this situation because I shouldn't be in this situation where I'm better than any player in Grandmasters at any deck. It shouldn't be that way.
Why not, TJ?
But here we are. But Muzzy is the he's that guiding light for Tempo Mage in Americas. And honestly, ETC's been pretty good at the deck. Judging by where his mistakes have been and where his weaknesses have been in the last couple seasons of Grandmasters, I thought that ETC would struggle because it would take him too long. He would start turns late and he would rope out and not be able to make perfect decisions with Tempo Mage. But he impressed me with that. He also impressed me with Turtle Mage. So I'd say he's up there as well. ETC on coin, so that can sometimes be a pretty big advantage in this matchup. If you're on the play, you just kind of want, a little bit of additional tempo, which Muzzy has. I mean, he went 1 drop into 2 drop. He just needs a little bit more follow-up to this Sorcerer Apprentice Mana Cyclone, and I think, he should be pretty happy about this start.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack of what you just said, TJ.
I know. I kind of went on a little mini rant, but the gist is NA players, or not NA. Well, maybe NA. America's players, bad Tempo Mage. There you go. That's the gist.
There you go. Yeah. So the thing that I want to say, TJ, is that you should give yourself more credit as an analyst, as the top analyst. That's what we expect from the top analyst in Hearthstone. If you can't analyze, who will? So there's that. The second thing is that, I do think that we have seen some pretty good plays come out from some players, and also some pretty bad plays with Tempo Mage. Even going back to the previous series earlier today, where there's just some questions in certain matchups. There's what are you really prioritizing? Are you trying to prioritize what your deck is good at? Are you trying to prioritize disruption? Are you trying to prioritize just simply surviving and hoping that a Solarium Prime bails you out? And it does seem like that is always something that we could narrow down and focus a lot. That's why I really look forward to a lot of the segments that people do. Gia throughout the season has been doing a mulligan segment. Derek's been breaking down some of the top plays that he likes, and some of the moments from broadcasts are worth highlighting. Wow, speaking of highlights, big gas from Muzzy here.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only way you can describe a draw like that. Big gas.
Yeah. Big gas. I would have also accepted large fuel. But with Violet Spellwing on board, And Ray of Frost is essentially the perfect card in the deck to bring this type of hand together with Sorcerer Apprentice Mana Cyclone. So, woo. And Mana Giant in hand already. So the Mana Giant already costs 5. It's very likely that he'll be able to play. Holy moly! Pack it up!
What if it's playable this turn, TJ? Oh my god! No, don't rip it. Don't rip it. He's gonna do it! What a madman! He wants to go for the giant! He gets a giant this turn!
He hit it! It's free! He also hit Elemental stuff.
The frozen wastes.
What? Oh, that's Ancient Mysteries. Yeah, he did hit Elemental Allies. He just played it so fast I didn't even have a chance to read it. He plays the Mana Giant. Oh yeah, thumbs up. That's right, Buzz. That's a good turn. I'll take it.
Big gas coming out of Muzzy.
That
on turn
was some
4.
large fuel. Woo! Like I'm sweating.
Well, are you sure it's because of that turn 4, or is the fact that you are literally on the surface of the sun over in East Los Angeles?
I mean, that was just an isolated statement. That had nothing to do with anything. I just wanted to point out. I'm sweaty right now. I don't know what it is, but it's just happening.
TJ's perspiring profusely.
ETC's like, I want to play too. No,
TJ's like,
you will not play.
ETC's like, look, I can do it too. I can do it too. Wow. Muzzy gets a turn 4 easy victory. That's just the way it goes, I guess.
It went on like a 5-minute rant about how Muzzy's one of the best Tempo Mage players in Americas. And then that's the game that we showcase.
Hard to argue with him being the best if he's going to do turns like that. But so much for that lead, huh? ETC had to squeeze and fling and pen a bunch of stuff. And Muzzy's like, well, I just played Magic Trick into Evocation and Mana Giant on 4. Went from like a board of nothing to a board of everything you don't want to see. Game number 3, Muzzy's queued up this Control Priest here.
Yep, Control Priest. Muzzy one of the few players this week to bring Control Priest into playoffs. I believe he's the only player left in the top 4 with the deck. And you know we have seen it struggle, right? It's a deck that can just sometimes get caught off guard by Rogue and by Mage. And sometimes they just don't have the raw healing necessary to beat Demon Hunter. And sometimes it can feel like the game slips out of your hands despite you playing as well as you can. And that's because the deck doesn't do as like unfair broken things as some of the other decks in the metagame. And I think that's why we see a lot of players like kind of shy away from it unless they have like a very targeted lineup. But I do think that Priest played at the highest level is one of the scariest decks. It's just very hard to get there. So we'll see if Muzz can do it. I like his build of the deck. I think, you know, there's small things that you can do with the deck list to make it better against certain matchups. Like, you know, Madame Lazul is better against like Druid and sometimes Mage, but a lot of times worse against like Rogues and Warriors. So that would just be like a second Twilight Drake in some lists.
Yeah, I like the second Twilight Drake lists, but yeah.
You would, Dan. You would.
I do. I would. I do, and I would, and I am.
You would.
And it be like that. The way you say it is like those old video games where they say, you win, but you say, you would. That's right here. Yeah. This is a... Wow. I mean, these are all great. I guess...
Mana Cyclone.
Yeah, Mana Cyclone offers you the most amount of flexibility for that, because the Sorcerer's Apprentice, you're not looking for like a crazy pop-off turn with big payoff. A lot of your cards that generate don't tend to generate other stuff. Part of what makes Sorcerer's Apprentice really powerful is usually the second degree of separation. So it's like Sorcerer's Apprentice plus Evocation, or like the magic tricks and other things like that that help chain, or cram sessions that help draw into other stuff. On top of course, you know, if you have a bunch of cheap spells like the Ray of Frost and Arcane Missiles can be pretty good. So I think the Mana Cyclone ends up being better. You start to dive a little bit more into like what makes those cards particularly powerful.
And these mage decks are just popping off. And this is like one of the best mage starts that you can hope to have against Priest, just because you want options. You want to get that card draw out of the way because when both players are playing slowly. So it's quite good. Muzzy does not have a way to copy/steal this Astromancer Solarian. Not the most concerning thing in the world, because that's not like, you know, a primary win condition of the deck. It's just kind of a nice to have. Like, you combat a Solarian Prime with a Solarian Prime.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I think this might be like a Mana Cyclone turn.
Yeah.
This doesn't have hand space.
Hand space for it? I guess he could
No.
just. Yeah, you could.
Take 2?
Yeah, it just takes 2 spells and then just pass. That makes sense. Whoa. Okay. Power creation, big thing. Frost Nova, annoying thing. Seems good to me.
Alright, is it time for a pop-up turn? You have minions to target for these Rays of Frost. Ooh.
Yeah, Water Elemental, I guess. Doesn't have any secret
Oddly
synergy
enough,
with it right now.
Like, Ethereal Arcanist honestly seemed like the choice that I would have made there.
Really?
Yeah, you have Evocation in hand, you're about to drop a Mana Cyclone, the odds you get a Secret are high, and that has, I feel like, has higher, like, maximum potential upside as Water Elemental. Maybe I'm crazy, but... Like, Water Elemental's not a must-kill target, whereas Ethereal Arcanist, if you play a Secret, it is.
Yeah, that's fair. It's got like that questing adventure dynamic where you're just like, oh god, I really hope I need it. I need to kill this like ASAP or else I am dead.
Trick Totem!
Okay. Totem is fun.
My partner, not as fun, but definitely just better. Alrighty. So this is a hand with a lot of things to do. But I think getting rid of that Sorcerer's Apprentice needs to be priority number 1. Muzzy has a pretty easy way to do that. He can go Wild Pyromancer, Draconic Studies, and then Coin Heal? I don't know if I want to use Renew. Oh, you can't Coin Heal. No, you can't do that. I guess you do have to renew, huh? Oh, Fairy Dragon. He can play it this turn. Yeah, he can renew and then Fairy Dragon. That works out.
Yeah, I think it's better than nothing, so getting it back before ETC can start to extend onto the board here. Steward of Scrolls still kind of chilling here. ETC has so many cards, but like all kind of just average stuff. So I think Water Elemental or some kind of 4-drop in Hero Power is totally fine. There's also like play Flame Ward. That feels really weak as well. All these situations look kind of weak, and it makes me feel like I don't want to be doing much here.
You can go. Yeah, one mental ping. Like the Flame Ward was the card that I'm like, I kind of want to just get this out of the hand while I know it has guaranteed value. But then you have to dump something along with it.
Right.
They could have gone like
Lab
Flame
Partner?
Ward, Violet Spellwing, but then it gets stolen. Still doesn't fix the problem of having a lot of like dead cards in hand.
Right.
Not dead cards, but like situational cards in hand, and wanting things to dump. This is just the simplest.
Sure.
What is Elun's will?
Muzzy finds a wave of apathy. Doesn't necessarily want. I mean, I guess he could steal it. These are. Actually, the evasive form could also answer this Spore State as well. I was thinking about Cabal Acolyte and whether or not you want to take something like Water Elemental, but it might not even necessarily be about what you're taking, but more about what you could be doing in the big picture. If you're talking about playing tempo styles, you totally can. Because if you play Shadow or Pain, you're once again kind of like saying, to your opponent that you want them to develop something, and then Mage explodes onto the board. They're like, okay, well, here's like 6 minions. And then all of a sudden, you don't even get the value off of the Cabal Acolyte. So I like it this turn. It makes sense. It's also mana efficient. Too many reasons to indicate that it's a good play.
Yeah, he also has meaningful follow-up, right? He has Power of Creation. He has Evasive Worm. Because he has meaningful follow-up, that's kind of the reason why I'd like pushing for tempo first, because it gives him the most possibilities for to see what ETC does and then push to tempo from there. Like if he just plays one thing and kind of like tries to draw cards, you Evasive Worm. If he like goes big with like Man Giant Conjures Calling, you Soul Mirror. If he has a really weak turn, you just turn up the heat a little bit and coin out that Power of Creation.
Oh, jeez. Fully loaded hands. Steward Scroll. Looks like EDC just wants to go digging here. Well, sure. We're at turn 7. I think we should definitely consider it. EDC didn't even look happy about taking it. He kind of like frowned as he did. He's like, alright. Alright, okay.
One of those. I feel like if Puzzle Box wasn't able to be offered by any random abilities, and you had to actually put it in your deck to play it, I'd feel a lot better about the card.
Right.
Then you have to like take this risk of putting a 10-mana card in your deck.
Yeah, it's fair. Muzzy finds some really good options here. The Honest Mage Scribe is just good for resources. I think that's something that stands out to me. I don't know if Argent Commander ends up being like good. I guess the issue is that if you pick the Honest Mage Scribe, your opponent could react and like give you like play Devolving Missiles or something, but it's unlikely for it to destroy you completely. So I think that I like the Honest Mage Scribe just because it's like beefy stats, gives you some resources. You're gonna go late into the game. This is a drawn out matchup a lot of times. It's solid.
Yeah, there's just the bigger body. I think it makes more sense here. I don't think the damage matters from the Argent Commanders, but I mean ETC like. There's 2 modes that he could be in here. He could be in the stall for Puzzle Box and, just have faith that Puzzle Box bails him out of any situation, or there's him actively trying to gain back tempo and not have to rely on Puzzle Box, or just act like it's not there until like he's desperate for it.
Right.
And this turn's going to tell us a lot about what he decides. Polymorph, I think it would come out regardless because you want to deny resources. But if he Arcane Intellects, then that's a definite stall for Puzzle Box, right? Like, oh, there's Devolving Missiles.
Polymorph. And maybe he lands it on both.
Let's see. All right.
He does. Okay, Alar. Life Weaver? What? Give it to a class that can heal all the time?
Yeah, that's good.
Bad.
So Lifeweaver is very weird. After you heal, I'm pretty sure it's minions or your health total. You get a druid spell.
Right.
So Muzzy's collecting mage spells, druid spell. Look, he mind visioned the puzzle box with 9 cards in hand. I guess he had two shots at it. But now also gets a druid card as well. What? Guardian Animals. Is that even active? I don't think so. Right? There's no beasts.
Yeah.
I mean, puzzle
it's
box
starting to
can
get
shuffle
silly
beasts.
up in here, TJ. Starting to get real silly.
Another evocation. It's one of those games, huh?
Yeah, it really is. It's one of those games where it's just going to be utter chaos all the way down.
Yeah, like only 2 cards in each player's hands are cards that were actually put into their deck.
Arcane Flak Mage, Kieran Tor, Tricaster, Apexis, Smuggler. No real power behind that just yet, but okay. Brain Freeze can kill off that Alar, or just at least summon the egg from the Alar. Alar definitely one of my favorite cards, by the way. But sad that we don't
for a
get to see
second
a
one?
lot of.
Going for the second one.
Second evocation.
And just ends up fireballing it anyway.
Wow, that was aggressive
ETC
use of evocation.
Yeah, ETC dumped essentially his entire hand, and he removed an Alar and developed a secret.
Right.
That's it. That's all he did. Yes, he put some minions on the board, but these minions are going to get eaten up. And they're not progressing his game plan, right? Sorcerer Prince dies on board. So
yeah, I'm not entirely too sure about that myself, TJ.
So you know how I said there's 2 paths that he could take? He could try and meaningfully fight back on board, ignore the puzzle box until he needs to, or there's the just stall to turn 10 and then just play it immediately. And it looks like ETC. Oh, nope. Still got a threat left. Ooh, Venture Co-Mercenary.
That's a big one. Does make some of his other hand expensive, but at this point, ETC is okay with that. Can also just conjure calling the Janus immediately. Finds his own Alar. And it's a complicated board state, but Muzzy does have that Soul Mirror ready to go. And with the Soul Mirror, that's just a full board. Muzzy knows about Puzzle Box. He can play around Puzzle Box. Might be the first time I've said that in a while. But
can you play around Puzzle Box? Is that something that exists?
Yes. Only because it does feel like sometimes Puzzle Box has such a wide range, but Muzzy does actually have tools. Well, one, he has his own Puzzle Box for the Puzzle Box. But he's also expecting it to come out, and therefore can plan accordingly, and also can kind of force ETC to use it in a situation where he doesn't really want to. Like, this is a board state where you don't want a puzzle box, but you also feel like you can't let it keep going because you're falling further behind.
Happy Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
It's time!
All right, here we go.
That's the wrong intro line.
TJ.
Boom squad. Commencement? Mana Giant!
What?
Nailed it!
Okay, some pretty useless spells so far. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. Imagine if that was outcasted somehow. Oh, no. He's buffing his opponent's board. Oh, boy. That ended up being a pretty bad puzzle box scenario. Although I guess the Blessing of Might didn't really matter because the Alar revives. Is there a way for him to get through this cleanly? I guess it's just the evasive word.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty clean. That's clean enough for me. Like, ETC
Totally.
has just dumped almost every resource that he had banking on this puzzle box, and then the puzzle box just got a whiff, to be honest, and that's the risk with it. It's not always this bailout card. As much as we see these highlights, I feel like we see just as many lackluster ones.
Totally.
Is it cold in here? Or is it just me?
ETC scrambling, looking for something. Mana Cyclone being played. Ancient Mysteries. I mean, just
a whole lot of
playing
nothing.
Cards. No secret. Concede. Muzzy takes game number 3. 1 game away from going to the grand finals.
Yeah, and this is kind of the feeling that I'm used to when watching Muzzy, where it's just like he's ahead and he just has one deck left to win, and we say how favored he is, and then he just crushes the last game anyway, and he didn't even need his extra chances. This is kind of how it feels watching Muzzy for the past 4 weeks. But, I mean, ETC's got a mirror matchup left, and then he's got Mage versus Rogue, which the Mage versus Rogue, Mage again feels like one of those decks that just refuses to lose. Feels like they always have something up their sleeve when right when you count them out, they get that puzzle box, they get that evocation, they buy themselves more time. So we'll see what ETC decides to queue first, if he wants to go for the mirror and then leave a potential game 5 up to the Mage versus Rogue. But Muzzy is going to queue last deck, Secret Rogue. And this is the pretty standard build of it. You know, we've seen kind of a split between Cult Neophytes and the Underbelly Fence as the choice in that 2-drop slot. They both have, you know, different strengths, different weaknesses. I do think that the Cult Neophyte ends up working out better against Mage because you can stall their pop-off turns. You can use it to protect like an Edwin Van Cleef or a Questing Adventure that you play early on. You can plan when to use it. But you do give up the potential for like that early game tempo that, you know, turns 2, turns 3 to try and gain gain back some of the board with Underbelly Fence. There's a difference in choices, but there's going to be that mirror, and I believe that is the only difference in both of these decks. Is that 2-drop choice?
Yes.
They both have same secrets. Yep, it is just the Underbelly Fences for ETC and the Cult Neophytes for Muzzy.
Neat. Muzzy has the dirty tricks here for turn 2. And ETC doesn't really have anything too much to do outside of tempo out this Hanar, so it looks like he can do that and immediately start playing the secrets, but you are opening yourself up to like having one secret that you don't want to play, and then can't do anything much about it. I think you can bounce it back. Blackjack Stunner right back to you.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It buys him some time.
Right.
It's tempo.
Yeah.
Tempo, tempo, tempo.
I guess I'm just not like super. It just feels really bad, right? Because like the idea is that he doesn't have the ability anymore to use that on like a really powerful thing like Edwin Van Cleave, which he'd much rather be able to do. So that makes sense, and it's okay in the end. So
Cole Neophyte also interesting into a Shadow Jeweler Hanar turn. Because it means that he's not really getting much value from these secrets. It's just, I guess, kind of your concern as well is Muzzy's not really progressing towards anything. He's just buying time. Even going to go for the secret passage early to try and make sure he can shore up some of the weaknesses of the hand. Ooh! Oh!
wow.
Oh!
The goods. Finds Vendetta. Finds a way to activate it. These Wand Thief options aren't super good.
Quickly.
Reliquary of Soul, Nidhogg, and Nizari. Just picks up the tempo option. They can play it immediately, and ETC loses the Hanar. Bad spot for ETC. He invested knowing that it was a risk. That risk has not paid off.
Give me a quest.
But he does have this. A questing adventurer. And the dirty tricks only gives him cards he can just continue to pop off for the rest of his turn. Yeah, the lurker below, I guess that's tempo.
Great at dealing with those wide lacking boards.
All right.
He's got Secret Passage to reload. He's got Lurker Below to protect this if Muzzy can't deal with it and goes wide. This is a pretty good setup, I'd say.
Yeah, Muzzy just needs to fade this, and he's effectively in the insurmountable lead, but needs to answer this questing adventurer. The question is how. And I guess Cult Neophyte actually does does incidentally play around Lurker Below, but the plagiarize is what's really annoying.
Yep, and Muzzy gets the
yep.
Gets the call here. So I guess you just go for Cone of Cold. Because you don't want to give anything else over to him. So you just Cone of Cold freeze and hope that Wand Thief finds a way to deal with it the next turn? Yeah.
Guess so.
Muzzy was really hoping to see Dirty Tricks there, I think. Because he could have, maybe found like a cheaper freeze with Wand Thief and then follows that up with like Edwin Van Cleave. And then can kind of turn it around. Secret Passage, only real thing for ETC to do here. Chandis Barab with 5 mana. And a Shadow Step!
And a Shadow Step. Oh, he's opting instead for the Evil Miscreant? Oh, he's hesitating.
What makes
no, thank you.
I like the Jandis. I like the Shadow Step. Reasonable minions to have. Very well statted, actually. So
2 dragons, I'm pretty sure that's so rare that it's good luck. Have 2 dragons.
True. And Muzzy, who looked like he was in a controlling spot, now has to deal with a bigger board. And another card that's not helpful. So maybe you can start off with a Wand Thief activation. Cult Neophyte seems like it's reasonable in this spot.
Yeah. Just like it feels like there's not enough for him to do this turn. Like only 6 mana. So much for him to deal with.
Right. It is brutal out here.
Quickly.
All right, well, he finds Vaporize. Ooh, chooses the right minion to attack. Guess he can play Vaporize. Oh, jeez. So bad. Just going to play the Van Cleave. And ETC is ready for this.
Is he?
Yeah. And I'm not sure about the Janus, but like, what's stopping him from? Well, I guess he could just also trade his own health total. But I was gonna say, like, what's stopping him from just kind of pushing tempo here? I guess if he plays Kona Cold, he knows that Plagiarize gives him that option as well. Just gonna go for maximum 5-drop tempo here. Do you want to Janus again? Just give two Janus and Shadow Step to Muzzy? He's just too far behind. He's not enough mana to play all that.
Yeah.
The Bizarre Mugger! What? Shadow Step again!
This is way too big of a board. And
wow,
no, he's giving him Shadow Step, but like he's only giving him this Shadow Step target.
He has no cards
That's
he can draw off the top of his deck.
Yeah,
wow.
fills his hand. So he's got Jandis, Shadow Step, Jandis now. Did twice. It's just he can't even Shadow Step and use it because it's going to cost 3 mana.
Well, that does it. Muzzy's dead. Another quick game. Turn 6 kill for ETC. And ETC now has new life. He is 1 game away. We're at match point on both sides here for the last day of Grandmasters. And you got to look at what's happening here and kind of think it really could go either way, TJ.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to Mage versus Rogue, which outside of Mage versus Priest, I think the Mage versus Rogue games that we've seen over the past couple days in playoffs and relegation matches have just been bonkers. Like, no idea what to expect. Both players making very liberal use out of cards that they have no business being in their hand or deck. Which gets exciting, but it also must be incredibly stressful for the people in those seats playing. And here we go. It's time for it. Mage versus Rogue. Player who wins this moves on to the finals to face the winner of Monsanto Killing All Day in their hopes of a World Championship appearance. Stay alive.
Yep, that is right. Whoever wins this game will be able to do that as we get ready for game number 5. ETC starts off with Wand Thief, Man Giant, Magic Trick. Doesn't keep any of them. All right, Muzzy back at it, and looks like he doesn't really like most of it except for the questing adventure. Shadow Druhanar is not super important right now. The one thing about ETC's Mulligan is I was wondering about Mana Giant, and I was wondering if it's a card that is ever worth keeping. But I guess when he's off the coins and have a ton of resource generators, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I think if you're keeping it with resource generators, or you're in a matchup where it's like your primary win condition, like you absolutely need it to win games, it's fine. But you just want early game tempo.
Right.
Don't let the door hit you.
Is there any value of this? The early game tempo? Okay. Blackjack Stunner is out.
You don't pick the one.
This is the moment of truth for Muzzy right here, I feel.
What do you mean?
I want to go coin, questing adventure, backstab.
Okay.
Next turn, Cold Neophyte to protect it alongside a Feral Cat. And then
You're
you have
seeing the
secret
moment of truth,
passage
you're
to follow
saying
it
this
up on
is his
that.
window of opportunity.
This is the window of opportunity. Going to three mana. So if ETC deals with your questing, he's dealing with it on an off turn. He can't deal with it and like he can't like Sorcerer's Apprentice deal with it Mana Cyclone, right?
Right.
You don't pick the one.
Yeah, that makes sense. And overall, if you look at how,
Yeah, I think this is worse.
how it's panned
He's gonna
out.
he's gonna do the same thing, but now ETC gets to fully capitalize on it.
Oh man.
Like ETC didn't even have Mana Cyclone yet, and I still think that was like a better line because like how's he deal 3 damage on that turn? Yeah, and now ETC gets to Sorcerer Apprentice, Mana Cyclone. Imagine if he did this last turn, then locked out this next turn with Cold Neophyte Pharaoh Cat.
Right.
It would have locked out this turn, and then Muzzy could have Secret Passage or played Plagiarize to play around this possibility. So I wonder if Muzzy thought about that and is now like kind of kicking himself for not doing it. But I mean, what is that Cold Neophyte accomplishing on a 3 mana going to a 3 mana turn? Right?
Yeah.
Like what are you trying to stop?
When they're off the coin.
When they're off the coin, what are you trying to stop?
It's all going so wrong. Muzzy, he looks devastated. I just put in his hand, or his head in his hands, and seems like generally feels like he's really far behind at this point, and he's right. ETC is climbing further ahead now.
Time runs out on me.
Thumbs up. This ain't a Battlegrounds lobby. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that imp for good measure to protect his Sorcerer's Apprentice, and now Muzzy has to, Secret Passage in here? This spot?
Yep.
He has to deal with the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and I think right now he's just looking at the situation and thinking about what actually is possible with the Secret Passage, and it's just unlikely he hits an answer, but he could.
You need to hit something similar that he hit last game, which is like Wanty Vendetta. Think. I mean, can he afford to leave this up for a turn? I mean, if he goes Plagiarize, that also kind of deals with the Sorcerer's Apprentice in a weird way. So I suppose he can wait one more turn. Oh, wow. Wow.
Okay. Just a dagger plus Plagiarize. He says, do your worst. Whoa.
Is it cold in here?
DJ, we might see our first finalist be locked in here. ETC has evocation. Okay, so he sees no dirty tricks, and he's immediately thinking, is it worth plagiarizing this? ETC, we've known him for his aggressive plays. He played evocation for much less before. He's literally played it for nothing in the previous games.
Yeah, but this is an extra layer of depth here because he also gives it to his opponent.
Right.
I mean, at this point, you're so far ahead. He has 5 mana. He does not have a Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Exactly. He has to spend mana playing evocation, and then you generate a 5/5.
It's too late now.
It's too late. Oh,
I guess you can Arcane
Intellect. That's a card
Yeah,
that
I think that's
Muzzy
just fine.
really wants. Okay, well, he still summons a 5/5, which I was definitely in favor of right now. I guess, like, if you look at these spells, they actually don't deal a lot, right? Because he's just dying to the pressure on board. So even if Muzzy needs more card draw, it looks like Muzzy is out of options here. Racking his brain. The plagiarize did not pay off. At least not in the way that I think Muzzy imagined it.
Is it cold in here? Or is it just me?
High roll the Shinvala with Secret Passage.
Yeah?
Get like,
I mean,
prep,
Quickly.
Wand Thief, Shadow Step, Wand Thief. What?
oh. Okay.
He hit exactly
Wait.
what I was talking about.
Yeah, but he needs time. He's roped out a lot of his time. Does he have the ability to pull this all off? Looks like he did. Okay. That's a nice barrier.
Oh, the Frost Nova seemed much better there.
Yeah.
He might have. He didn't rope out the decision because the rope didn't hit. He picked that.
Right. Oh boy, now we're in for another really big turn here from ETC. Evocation first. Magic Trick. Brain Freeze. Tome. Mirror Image. Non-stop. Spell action coming your way. Does have to be mindful of board space. That is something that is limiting here.
You brain freeze the middle, then you combustion. Brain freeze first.
Combustion first, then brain freeze. I guess it doesn't.
No, it does matter. If you brain freeze.
If you brain freeze,
no,
you
yeah,
clear
you're right,
both, right?
Yeah, because he's got 2 spell power. If he has 1 spell power, I don't know. It doesn't matter. At this point, it's like.
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredibly well navigated actually by ETC. He gets max amount of 5/5s, utilizes max amount of board space, utilizes all his mana. The only thing that could have been different is if he could do that and find a way to fit into Mana Giant with the cards he drew.
Wow.
That's it.
A wave goodbye from Muzzy. We have our first finalist dabbing his way to the grand finals. And of course, what's better than being cool? It's being so lucky, right? Meow.
I wonder if that's his cat, or is that some
I hope
shirt
so.
that I don't know about. HC's cat has made a guest appearance many times on the stream in the background. But yeah, happy for ETC. Sad for Muzzy because it felt like he just has been. I guess both players, right? ETC, he had a rough start, but then it's been dominating since round robin has been going on because he was a top player from Division B. Rolled through his groups as much as he could coming into the bottom seed. Muzzy had a similar thing, but he just had a better route or better Swiss, so he started in Division A. But both were first seeds. So if you look at ETC and Muzzy's performance over the last 5 weeks, they've been very similar. So if you look at it in that context, it's not that much of an upset. It's just, Muzzy being the Division A favorite, getting that #1 seed, a slightly better record even in round robin. He had to have been the favorite coming into this one. A little probably disappointing for him for his run to be cut short here and not get an opportunity to play at the World Championship. But, I mean, he can hold his head high. He had a heck of a season.
Yeah, definitely. So that